So for those of you who saw the review just a couple of days ago of this keyboard here, the Redragon Parvati, I mentioned that I was really surprised at the quality, at the build, at the functionality, at the feel of it. I was really happy about it, and it wasn't all that expensive. And because of that, I was thinking about trying one of their RGB mice as well. They call it a gaming mouse. I don't really use it for that, but at the same time, I thought I'd keep up with the theme of the keyboard. Now, the mouse I was using before, the Razer Mamba, it's a combo wired wireless mouse. I used it as a wireless mouse for as long as I could, but it had been acting up for a long time. I switched over to wireless, and it didn't make, I switched over to wired, and that didn't make a whole lot of difference. The mouse still didn't do very well. It would cut out for lengths of time. It wouldn't track. The pointer would drift. I had all kinds of problems with it. And it wasn't unique just to that mouse, because I actually have one here at home, had one here at home, and I have one in my office, and it happened with both of them. So, at least in my experience and in my opinion, it just wasn't a quality mouse. And I actually checked on Amazon, and they're going for $120 if I wanted to replace it. Now, that's down from $150, so I guess that's good. But at the same time, I really wasn't looking to spend all that much money. And this Redragon, this is actually called the Redragon Griffin. This mouse, $15. And Amazon had some kind of $2 off thing that you could use. And so I did that, and this is the mouse I have. So, as was the case with the keyboard, I think they've done a really nice job with it, especially for the price point. I just don't think you can go wrong for the amount that they charge. I'd also like to add that they've really stepped up their packaging game. This is the box that it came in, unlike the box for the keyboard, which was just a bashed up cardboard thing with some not even bubble wrap, like a bubble sleeve stuck in there. This is the box the mouse came in. Now, it's just a plastic box, and the only thing in it was the mouse, but at least they made the effort, and I appreciate that. So, if you get a Razer mouse, it comes in this metal box, and there's all this stuff inside. But for $15, you can't beat it. So that was a good start. It was a much better first impression than the keyboard. So the first thing that you'll notice, at least that I noticed, is the mouse is pretty sizable. I don't think my hands are all that small. I don't know if they're necessarily huge, but it's really sizable underneath my hand. So it fits nice and it feels good for a mouse. And the texture on it is like this sort of smooth rubber. It feels really nice. It grips well. The buttons are very clicky. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it here, but they're clicky. The scroll wheel can be clicked. And one other thing, speaking of the scroll wheel, that I was absolutely not able to find out, and this might have been a deal breaker for me, I'm not sure, but for me a scroll wheel has to ratchet. When you roll it up and down like this, I don't like a smooth roll. It has to ratchet, and this one does. Now, as far as I can tell, there's not even a way to turn it off. So I think it's just going to ratchet, at least as far as I can tell. I looked into it and wasn't able to find anything. So, it's a mouse. What can I tell you? There's two buttons on the side that default to forward and backward if you're doing web browsing, for instance. The center, the scroll wheel is a button also if you click on it. And the other way that this works is that you can see behind the scroll wheel, there are two buttons there, and one's a DPI button and one's a light mode button. And the DPI one is really interesting. That's the top button here. So if you press on it, you see it turns a color. This is green, and green means 1600 DPI. Purple means 2400 DPI. Yellow is 7200 DPI. That's way too sensitive for me. The mouse pointer flings all over the place. If you're a gamer, I guess you would need that. Red is 800 DPI, and blue is 1200 DPI. That's my sweet spot. That's the one that worked perfectly for me, but it does offer you a lot of options. Behind it, you can set the lighting modes. So it's got this one. It's got this thing here. And, it'll, hold on. Right, and so as you use the mouse, it will respond to that. This is another version of that. And you can set it to various colors. This is breathing. Another version, a little fiery logo. The fact the logo lights up, I think, is nice. I also like the fact it's hard to see, but it lights up here in the front at the bottom. So I think that was pretty nifty as well. and so other lighting patterns. Now I leave it at this one. I just like to have the circulating RGB. I felt this was a little slow, and apparently with the software you're able to speed it up and make some other changes, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Now it turns out, of course, that one of the things I like about the keyboard is that you don't have to use any software. You don't have to have any software loaded onto your system. That's true of the mouse also, although there is software you can download if you want to make some tweaks. So for example, you can tweak what the various DPI will be as you click the button. So if you don't like the 8, 12, 16, you can set those to different values, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can also map what the function of all the keys are, of all the buttons. So I don't use all of these. I just need a mouse, and I wanted an RGB one that worked well, was responsive, that felt good in the hand, and this meets all of those. It's exactly what it is I was looking for, and I'm frankly stunned, as I said with the keyboard, that it was only $15. Another nice thing about it, I don't know how well you can see this. Like I said, I've got the lights off, so you can really see the RGB. This is a braided red and black cord, which I thought was nice. That was a nice touch. Gives it a sort of classy air. So, I mean, the booklet it comes with is much thicker than it was with the keyboard, but again, it's for many different languages, and the actual number of pages for each language is only about 3, as you can see here. So there's a lot of functionality here. I'm going to show you the software now, and again, I'm going to delete the software when I'm done. There's a couple of reasons for that, as we'll see, but if you want to make tweaks to the way the mouse functions, you can do that. Although they've done such a good job of making it accessible via clicks on the mouse itself, I'm not really sure that you need that. So let's switch over to the software and take a look. So here we are in the software. You don't actually need the software to use the mouse, and as I said, I'm probably going to get rid of it because I won't be using any of this functionality, but there is a lot you can do. So I'm just, as an example, I mean, you can set, individual profiles. You can see here, you can set the polling rate, double click speed. This is a lot of the features and functionality that a much more expensive mouse would have. By the way, the border around here, the green border, that's just part of my desktop, so it's not part of the software itself. But not only that, I'll use 4, just in button 4 here on the side, just in case, I do something I'm not supposed to do. But you can see here, there are a ton of things that you can do if you want to program any button on the mouse. Left click, right click, all the standard stuff. But the basic functionality, as you can see here, cut, copy, paste, the edit commands, advanced, gets pretty advanced. You can control media. You can even create macros, a fire key, of course, if you're a gamer. The DPI switch, the profile switch, report rate, LED mode switch. I mean, that's a different switch on the mouse anyway. But if for whatever reason you'd like to reconfigure the buttons, then you can do that. And it seems very effective. I didn't program any of these. But that leads to a slight issue. If we go over here to light, you can see there's breathing, rainbow, full lighted, wave, go without trace, and so on, the ones that I showed you. Well, I set every single one of them to as bright and as fast a rate as they could be. So here, brightness level is high, breathing is high, rainbow, brightness level high, breathing speed high. Hopefully this doesn't describe any people you know. Brightness level high, wave. Everything was set to as bright and as fast as it could be. And it made, as far as I can tell, it made 0 difference. And if it did make a difference, it was so subtle that I didn't notice it. So I don't know, I can't speak to the other functionality. I would be surprised if you set a button to do something via this menu and it simply didn't do it. But what I can say is that when I made the settings to the light, it made very, very little difference, if any. But as you can see, there is a lot of functionality it allows for, if that's what you need and if that's what you're looking for, and especially if you need to have multiple profiles, then it's very effective that way. Assuming that everything stands, which I'm assuming that it would. So even though I wouldn't use this software, I did want to just give you a very, very fast overview of it to show you what the capabilities of it are in case you needed that functionality. So now we're back to the mouse. What can I tell you? $15? It's absolutely fantastic. I'll give you the same caveat that I gave about the keyboard. I've only been using it for maybe a day or so. It's worked beautifully. It looks great. The lighting is very noticeable, bright. It's vivid. The functionality is amazing that they were able to incorporate most functionality that's controlled via software into the mouse itself. It feels good. It has nice texture. It glides on the desk well. I really have high hopes for this. I have high hopes for this mouse and the keyboard as well. So this is the Redragon Griffin gaming mouse. They have a bunch of mice. This is the one that I happened to choose. It was only $15 on Amazon. You could probably get it for less than that if you were willing to wait or had a coupon or a discount or something like that. And I think it's absolutely worth the money. I mean, it certainly beats the 150 or even more cost that other mice are. So I would encourage you to give it a look. I think it's a great value. My recommendation is that it's definitely a buy. Thanks for listening.